welcome. This is episode 2 of the True Color Fiber podcast. And my name is Trisha, and I'm coming to you from dreary Ohio. The lighting is not great here, but it's the middle of winter and it's been a very odd winter, so we're just kind of making through until spring comes. And I don't have a lot to share with you since my first episode because I have worked on finishing a test knit, and I also worked on another super secret test knit that I'm working on. So I can't share a whole lot of that, but I'll share a few little sneak peeks of it. But I did want to just kind of share with you a little bit more background about how I got started in knitting and where the name that I chose came from for my social media and this podcast channel. And so I've learned how to knit, let's see, probably I think it was in 2000 or 2001, somewhere in there, 2000 I think. And it was before my first son was born. And at the time I was teaching, I'm a teacher, and I was teaching in a high school, and visual art is what I taught for 14 years before art position was cut, and I now teach gifted. But when I taught art at the high school level, I had a student that she was just awesome. And she volunteered with this kind of nursing home, I guess, or a assisted living community that was near the school. And someone had taught her how to knit while she was volunteering. And so she taught me. And she basically showed me the knit stitch and the purl stitch. And she showed me how to cast on. And I made this. I'll have to dig it up somewhere. I have saved it because I thought that I would always frame it. And it's this little like bookmark swatch. It's tiny. It's like literally this big. And it's in like acrylic yarn, and it's teal, and there's tons of mistakes, but that was the first thing that I made, and it kind of started the ball rolling. So from there, I self-taught, and I just watched, well, mostly books, actually. It was before smartphones, and so I didn't do a lot of YouTube watching, but I really just looked at different books, and I kind of just picked it up. I think my background in fine arts just kind of, with me being a visual person, just made it fairly easy to pick it up and kind of jump in. I also didn't have any concept of what was difficult or what should be difficult, and I think, after I made that little swatch, I made a sweater for my son who I was pregnant with at the time. So I just kind of jumped in, and then I did lace, and like nobody else I knew knit, and so I didn't know that those things could be challenging. I just kind of looked it up and did it, and so I think that was a good experience, and I never really stopped. From that point on, it's almost 20 years now. There were definitely times that I went through that it was not as prominent in my life, but it never totally went away. And so that was how I began my obsession with knitting and fiber arts, and it just kind of has snowballed from there. As far as the name, so True Color Fiber, I had an Instagram channel called Myrtle and Lucy, and that was after my 2 dogs, who we no longer have with us. But I picked that name because I didn't want to use my actual name, and I liked, I love my dogs, and I just thought that would be a good name to use. And I still use that as my personal channel, but I recently created True Color Fiber because I wanted to just have an Instagram for my fiber interests only. So artists and fiber arts that inspire me, and fiber friends, and not have people that I know around this area that are not at all interested in my knitting or fiber arts to be on that. I wanted to split it so that they had that option. So in trying to come up with a new name, I wanted something that represented me and gave a picture of what the Instagram or Ravelry or this podcast is about. And I don't just, knitting isn't my only fiber obsession. I crochet, I spin, I've done a little bit of weaving, and so I wanted it to be more encompassing than just knitting. And so that's what I was thinking. And it came to, I was sitting there and I was trying to think of something because it's hard to think of an original thing. And that song from Trolls came on, or Cyndi Lauper, True Colors. And I thought, oh, I like that. So I thought, oh, and it makes a lot of sense. It's very personal with me because my youngest daughter, her middle name is True. And so it ties in that way as well. So True Color Fiber became a thing. And I thought it sounded good and I was happy with it. And I liked that connection with my youngest because she inspires me, and as well as all my kids. But I was kind of tired at the point that we named her. I was going to name her first name True. And my husband was like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. And it was a little bit too different, but we settled on that would be her middle name. And so I was happy with that. But at that point, we didn't tell anybody until she was actually born because I didn't want to hear it. If they thought it was weird or odd, I thought it stood for a lot of things, like, just true. It's real, it's authentic, it's all those good things. So that's where True Color Fiber came from. All right, let's get into the knitting. That was kind of a longer little segment than I thought it would be. All right, so with my projects, I'm wearing my first and only finished object for this week, and it is the Bobbles and Braids pullover by Boho Chic, I'm not sure which, fiber company, and Annie Lupton is the designer, and it was a test knit. It's a boxy shape. It shows every little hair because it's black-ish, but it has reverse stockinette sleeves, and I'll stand up so you can kind of see. It has these braids and then bobble rows. That's the back. So you can see how it's a boxy fit, nice and forgiving, and it comes just to my waist. I have a t-shirt. It's kind of swingy, and I like that. The neck is a little bit wider. It's not too wide. It's definitely, I'm not sure this t-shirt is exactly what I want to wear with it. I'm kind of figuring that out. I had even thought of putting, like, seaming up just a few stitches on each side just to make it a little less, but it's not off the shoulder. It's probably halfway. It's kind of a boat neck almost, I would say, kind of. And it's pretty cozy. It's got a 1-inch ribbing at the sleeves, the neck, and the hem. And yeah, I'm super happy with it. So the yarn that I used is Nightshades, and I have the label. It is Talk Radio is the Nightshades colorway, and it's American Cormo and wool. This is the label. Maybe not. Okay, so that's the label. I used 6 skeins and I did the size 3. So I had bought 7 skeins because that's what I thought I might need, and it worked out that I didn't. I used a little less than 6 skeins actually. I have just a small ball left over. Not enough to actually do an object with probably, but definitely enough to include in a scrappy project. So that was my test knit that I completed it in probably, let's see, I want to say less than 3 weeks for sure. It was fast, and I don't normally work on things quite that quickly, but it worked out and I was super happy with it. And then the next thing that I started working on is my test knit. So this is one, I can't really say a whole lot about it, but I did want to show you the yarn that I'm using. So Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. So focusing, kinda. There we go. And the colorway is Postcard. And I kind of love it. When I ordered it, I really thought it was more of a really pale pink. And I looked on Ravelry and it looked more like a neutral, and it is. It's more of a neutral. The Brooklyn Tweed website, it really looks like a pale pink. And this has more gray, or I would say gray. Grayish lavender. It's in that pink family. It definitely would go with pinks and mauves, but it's a very much a neutral. And it has little specks of other colors in it, like, oh, let's see, there's a red. Can you see that right there? I need to learn how to get the camera to focus. That would be helpful. So it has little, it's kind of almost a tweedy effect with the colors, and I really like it. And so it's a sweater, the test knit that I'm working on now, and I will show you. I just started because I did the swatch, and the swatch is huge. It's like an 11-inch swatch. It's this big. I'll show you a little peek. So it's like this. That's the quick peek you get. And I am normally not a huge swatcher. Like, I'll do the little minimum that you have to do so that I can kind of get an idea for the number of inches. But for this one, because it's kind of a big deal, I decided that I would definitely do the whole swatch, and I'm gonna frame it because I think it's beautiful and significant for me. And so I'm going to find a frame for that and hang it on the wall. But this is the beginning of the actual sweater. It is just the ribbing on the bottom, but I wanted to see if you could see how, let's see, yeah, that's kind of in focus, how the postcard is knitting up. So you can tell it's got a pinky undertone, but very much a neutral kind of a gray. It's not that pale pink that I was thinking on the website. And it wasn't my monitor, because I looked at Ravelry, and this is the shade that all the pictures in Ravelry are. It was definitely their photograph. It was just blown out, or the lighting that they used, it looked like cotton candy, a little paler than cotton candy, instead of this kind of a neutral. So just something to be aware of. And I'm sure that there'll be, when I'm able to share more with that, I definitely will. And it's not due until the end of February, so I've got lots of time. I'm all in. I'm going to be working on it. And then once that deadline comes up, hopefully I'll know more about when I can share the who, what, when, where, why of it. Okay, acquisitions is my next little part. I had a friend that I work with, and she knows that I'm obsessed with knitting. I made her a cowl for Christmas, and went to visit her daughter in Texas, and we live in Ohio. And so when she did that, she saw a little knitting shop there, and it was the McKinney Knittery. This is the bag that it came in. And my friend is not a knitter. I'm supposed to teach her how to knit soon when we can get together. But she knew that I loved it, and she loved the cowl that I made her. And so she picked up a couple little things for me that the shop owner there suggested, and it was perfect. So she got me a needle keeper, which I have one of these. The one I have is pink, and I love them. Actually, the one I have is purple. I had a pink one, and it's lost in action. I am not sure what I did with it. So I'm always wishing that I had more, because I have lots of stuff on the needles, and this is wonderful. So if you haven't tried it, you just put your your circular needles, or I suppose you could use it for straight needles too, inside like that, and throw it in your project bag so your knitting stays on, it doesn't fall off, you don't lose any stitches, and the tips are protected so it's not poking through your bag. So they are one of my favorite things, and I'm super excited to have another one. And then she also brought me some stitch markers. Can you see them? Let's see. There are some just yellow gems. There's an acorn, a little oak leaf, and a pine cone. And then this progress keeper is a big gem. They are so cute. That's a little bit better. And they are by Never Not Knitting. They're woodland markers. There's 5 stitch markers and 1 removable progress keeper. And she's based out of California. After I got these, I had not been familiar with her stitch markers, and it looks like on her website she has several other things. She also has some sewing patterns, but after receiving these, I hopped on Instagram and started following her, and she's got some really cool stuff. So that was a fun treat. And the last thing that I wanted to share is my dabbling in project bags. So I made this one a long time ago. Sorry, the light is changing. The owls. I'm not a sewer at all. I just kind of figured it out, but I'm really happy with this one. I even put interfacing in it, and I just looked up a few tutorials online. And then lining is orange polka dots, so that's fun. And it was kind of a fun experiment. So there was that. And then one other one that I wanted to show you that I made. I think I actually made this last summer as an experiment, because I just thought it would be cool to do a painting and turn it into a project bag. So this is canvas, and I did kind of an abstract painting, just kind of like playing around, and then decided to try to make it into a bag. So the only thing is, the size is good for socks. I'm not 100% happy with kind of the size of it. It's pretty small, but I think it looks really cool. So I wanted to share that too. All right, I think that's all I have for now until I get some more progress on some other things. I did nothing with the other whips that I talked about in my first episode. So I wanted to hop on here though, because I didn't want to go more than a few weeks without kind of just documenting my making and where I'm at in it. So thank you for watching if you made it this far. And feel free to share and like, and I love making new fiber friends.